Okay guys, so as discussed in video 1, I have found a method to retrieve my images from my phone camera. For my purposes, I have an iPhone and I have a Mac, so I used AirDrop. You'll notice over here in the Finder box, you'll see AirDrop. You'll also notice I have downloads selected, and you will see the 3 images that I airdropped, and they're showing up under downloads, and you will see they have the suffix of DNG, DNG, digital negative. That is indeed what we discussed in the first class, the type of file that you'll be using through your Lightroom app. So, a couple things. I can grab this and move this over. I'm coming back to my external drive that's still plugged in. I'm going to double click that. While I have that open, I want you to notice at the top, you have a couple different things that you can access. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click where it says little circle with 3 dots. I'm going to create a new folder. And guys, while you just created the folder, and while anything is highlighted in blue, that means you can type over it. So this is the beginning of your organization when it comes to creating digital imagery, right? For the most part, at least at the beginning of this class, it'll be photographs. Obviously, later you will be bringing in different digital elements that you get from the internet, etc., and mixing those up. But this is part of the organization. So you can do a general folder that you call raw files, right? Now I'm going to go ahead back here and create another folder, and the very first assignment that you have is composition, right? So we'll put composition. I'm going to grab that folder and I'm going to drag it and I'm going to drop it under the raw files. You'll notice that it shows up. So I can keep that open, come back to where I had found my downloads. Now, if you'll notice, I have to click on it. I have to select it to activate it. You'll see it's kind of grayed out, right, until you do that. So I'm going to select the first one. I am then going to hold down the Shift key and select the third one. You can do them individually, but it's a lot faster if you do them multiple ones. So with Mac, I'm holding my upper left-hand side of the mouse, right? I'm going to grab the first one that I selected. I'm going to drag. Whoops, it's not doing it. I apologize. I don't know why it did that. It might be being saucy. I'm going to grab it. It's not letting me do it. Couldn't tell you why. Sometimes computers do that. Generally, you can grab and drop multiple images. It's not letting me do that. So for our purposes, I'm going to grab this when I have that green sign, right? I'm going to drop that into the composition. I'll take the second one. It makes that lovely dropping sound. Last but not least, great. They're still here on my computer. I can delete them. The computers at school, they're probably wiped once a week at least, so you don't have to worry too much about that. So now that's all on my external drive. I have a major folder file that says raw files, and then for each particular assignment, you can also do it by date, whatever works for you. You will notice I have all this information when I added it into this particular file that may be helpful in the future. So great. I'm going to red dot or exit out of that. I'm coming back down to my Lightroom. Always, every single time you come into the classroom to work in the lab, every single time that you are working through Lightroom, you are going to ensure that you open up your Digital Media 2025 catalog or whatever you named it. Mine's already open. Let's focus on bringing in those images that I just brought over and saved on my external drive. So again, We're here with Library and Develop. Staying with Library, I can come over down to the lower left-hand side and hit Import. When I hit Import, of course I will see a different dialog box. A couple things I want you to notice. If the few of you who are doing this with a memory card, you will see different information here after you've plugged your memory card into the computer. In that case, you will copy as a DNG because you're literally copying the images from your memory card, and that's a backup source, right? That's a backup place for holding that. The majority of you are using your phone cameras, and if you recall, here's our source, here's what we're doing, here's the destination if you're copying, right? If you're copying, there's destination. If we're adding, it's not moving, it's just staying in the same place. Now, just to clarify that, again, Lightroom is a database. Lightroom helps me to organize my images virtually. A Lightroom catalog helps me to use different elements to edit, as in post-processing, as in changing the color, changing it to black and white, contrast, all that good stuff. It allows me to do all that work, and I can do one image, one photograph, 20 different ways. We'll get into that. It allows me to do that, and it takes up very little room because it's merely a thumbnail holding that information. Remember, this is a non-destructive kind of software. So the original raw files are never going to be touched. What we're doing when we're bringing them or when we're adding them to our catalog is we're telling Lightroom, these are the pictures, let's bring in these, you can think of them as thumbnails to mess around with, right? To do post-processing with. And it doesn't add that to your actual original file until you choose to export it as an entirely new file. If that doesn't make sense, it will, I promise. So let's go back a step. I'm selecting my source. If you guys remember, I have my external drive plugged in. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click on raw files, and I'm going to click on composition, and what do you know? The 3 pictures that I had brought in are showing up. Now, a couple quick things. If you have multiple pictures, you can uncheck them and then just select the images that you want to bring in. In my case, I don't have that many, so I will hit check all. They're all selected. You don't need to change much. What you can change this to over where it says build preview is standard. This is usually selected, don't import suspected duplicates. Develop settings, don't worry about. Metadata, it just sort of depends. If you are doing this on a larger scale, you become a professional photographer. Even if you're not, you may want to go ahead and add your copyright information. Now that would just mean your name and perhaps your website, etc. We'll get more into that later. You can also do keywords. We'll get more into keywords when it comes to the library module, but I'm just showing you over here. For now, that's pretty much it. You're going to hit import, and you will notice now these photographs show up in your library module. Now, only other thing I'm going to show you in this video is if I have one selected and I take it to the next module to develop, you will notice it opens up all this information, which we'll go more into detail with. But this is kind of the fun part, right? This is where you get to manipulate the way the image actually looks. The most basic thing one can do immediately is change that to black and white, right? Unclick that, change it back. We'll get into this white balance, tone, etc. you can always hit reset to reset it back.